All right, Seattle Sounders versus Atletico Madrid. First bit of play here from Atletico on the right side. Right there. Let's play it back now. On the right wing, he carries up the ball. This is great. This is again a great cutback using momentum. Now that he knows that he's completely sold the Seattle midfielder over here, he buys himself time. He looks up. He sees it. He sees the teammates with space. Again, this is the question on composure in this current moment. A lot of people would just toe poke it, try to find a quick pass here and there. But again, if you take a half second, knowing you have space around you, you can find the better option for your team. And in this case, number eight, waiting at the edge of the box. Again, this is a great run from number eight. He cuts back. He knows the Seattle players are dropping back fast. He sits back, waits for the space. Sometimes you have the understanding with the teammates already, knowing that some teammates prefer to cross it in quick, some prefer to slow it down and cut it back. You can operate based on how much you know about your teammates. But in this case, I think this is a great piece of chemistry over here. Shout out to number 19 and number 5 from Atletico as well. They make the forward runs which stretch Seattle apart. And again, we play it here. Again, simple pass. And again, when you have so much space and time, you just have to bury it. That's a great finish over here. Take nothing away from that. Next, from the contact, we have the contentious penalty call, but let's break it down moment by moment. Atletico winger, he's on the right. He's pushing it forward already. He has the pace. He trusts himself. Look at the way he uses his body. He's smaller than the Seattle defender. He gets down, uses his lower center of gravity to kind of muscle his way through, even though he has, well, from this few angles, less muscle than the Seattle defender. And I've been in a position before where you think you're bigger than the winger, but he's all over you, and this is rough. By In the next few frames, the Atletico winger has already got himself in between the ball and the defender, and it's all him. He takes one touch. This is again, he's just using his center of gravity to keep himself as ahead as he can. Now, we get a bit scrappy here. It's kind of 50-50 at the moment. Seattle defender is like, all right, he's got to use his physicality now to try to take out the winger. He does it. He tries his best. All right, again, he throws in an elbow. This is last ditch. This is last ditch. As a defender, if you're throwing in a last ditch shove like that, most of the time you're gonna lose it because you having to do this already, you kind of lost it already. All right. If this was a penalty, I don't think it would have been given just because of how he was outside of the box. But again, the winger, number 22, just takes it all in and then, they fight for the foul. They don't win the foul, unfortunately, but if we circle back to like where it all mattered in this moment here, the shove. I don't think there was much anything else he could do. We obviously have hindsight. Maybe number 18 could have closed down the front of the winger a bit better, allowing the fullback to have more time to jockey and delay the winger instead of having to dive in. Here, this is a great shot from outside the box, hits the bar. Camera pulls away at the last second, and then, we see Exovitzel tapping it in. We see the shot coming in. All right, keeper makes a save. That's all he can do, really. It's straight above his head. He makes a tip. He tips it over, but it's so powerful. Hits the ground. The Atletico player is coming in. He's first to the ball. Not a Seattle defender in sight. Not closing him down. Is just trying to cover the goal. Keeper as well, I feel, to cover. He knows what he's going to try. He makes himself big as he can. But again, you got to do one or two things. You either close in the cross, you got to cover the goal, or you block the striker, in which this defender is doing correctly to score. He does neither of these things, and like Exovitzer just takes his time and just nicely cushioning his head, and he scores the goal. Seattle score here, and it's a ball whipped in, chipped in. Now, let's talk about early positioning as first. In this frame itself, we can see three Seattle players against two Atletico players. I'm imagining that perhaps they were a bit stretched, caught out of shape. And again, this falls down to a 1v1 over here, but the defender is nowhere near goal side of the player, allowing this big striker to take the full head. He's even got time to look up and see where his teammates are. He does the right thing. He pushes it into the danger zone, into the center of the box. All right. Now this is just what can you do as a defender over here? Maybe could he have shuffled back? quicker could 24 already have been here? Maybe there's an argument for that that blocks the shot. Uh, I mean, blocks the pathway for the shot, but he gets himself in an awkward position, comes off the ricochet. Number 11, it just bounces right for him. I want to, it's a goal eventually, but want to point out the individual things that are done right. This is again, we talk about it here a lot. The L-shaped defending, your jockey, you got your stance right as a defender, albeit, yes, the ball goes through his legs. It takes a deflection, which puts the keeper off guard, and that eventually is what leads to the goal. But technically, a moment earlier, it's like half a second earlier, he's blocking that shot. Next passage of play, Atletico throw it in. Defender wins the header, but it falls kindly to another player, and Atletico finish it off. But let's break it down here, moment by moment. In this moment, when the ball is thrown in the air, we have a strong overload on the right side of the pitch for Seattle. They've got 3-on-1 over here, 2-on-1, and then 1-on-1. It's all right, but we're not seeing the ability of this team to guard the back post, the back space, I would say, in this situation. I feel someone should have been here. In fact, the defensive line should have been shifted one at least, or this midfielder should have been more tight on number 8 over here because he eventually gets the goal. The ball's thrown in. All right. So again, it's a clean 1-on-1. It's a good header. It's a big striker over there as well. He wins it, but he's already come in front of the ball again, which the only kind of header he can do is a flick back header, and this is kind of favoring the Atletico player over here. So the ball just falls into the back post in the back space where everyone is. And then because this Seattle player is not tight enough to the midfielder, he has all the time in the world and he just, side foots it in. Easy. Different angle over here, but at this point, it's probably too late. Again, I want to point out from this angle. Again, we have hindsight, but this number 85, he probably should have been on this back post Atletico player, and this center back could have shifted one. But at this point, as a defender, if you're having to stretch out like that, you either got yourself in the wrong position or you just ended up in the bad position out of circumstance, and that's just unlucky. He completely loses balance over here. Couldn't even get to the ball because the Atletico striker is shielding himself from the ball, allowing this finish, which is, and that's a good finish as well. He has the time. He sees the open space. He uses this defender as somewhat as a guiding post to curl it around for the finish. So coming back from the build-up to that offside goal, again, we have 3 at the back and centre back finds an empty pass. This is a good passing option. We have one presser already going in here, but that leaves the open room in this half space for this attacking midfielder to exploit. Again, I like the choice from this defender. He makes a simple pass. This is a great third man pass from number 6. He knows the space is left behind. He quickly lays it off. All right, I would debate the quality of the pass if he gets it to feet. But again, perhaps number 4 is blocking his view. If he gets it to feet, it's in a much more dangerous position right now. And this Seattle player will be able to exploit the space in a much more dangerous way. Instead, he's kind of forced to like take a half volley over here with a back flick to just hoping one of his strikers can win the ball, in which he makes the most out of it. That's great stuff. Again, it gets tidied up here by Atletico. But in this space, in this frame, 50-50, both have the right of way to challenge. I think that's a good win for Seattle. He pokes it forward with momentum. Number 18 makes the right run. You can see before that, before the passage of play is done, number 18 is already running into the space left behind because of the other center half being dragged in forward. Could he have taken a touch before controlling it? Maybe, but otherwise that gives time for the Atletico defender to recover, which he does recover. It ricochets off his feet, but again, at this point, momentum is all with Seattle. The right winger has come inside, which is great. He's supporting the play with numbers here. He's not hanging out up there, trying to scream and ask for the ball. Um, he's here. He's in space. He dribbles in. Now, at this moment, he has a couple options. Either he passes it right now, he feeds his striker here, in which puts his striker 1-on-1, or he shoots. But at this point, I think he's found himself in a good space. Probably, he's maybe seeing the headlines already of what's coming up. He takes like a bit of shimmy here and there, good enough to get the ball out of his feet. But again, it's a deflected shot. Defender defends it, again, and then it falls offside to his striker. If we rewind back, there were already other moments I feel which he could have laid it off through here, even here where his striker number 9 is still onside. He could have poked it through if he kept his head up to see his options. Yeah, one of the lesser surprising results of the Club World Cup so far.